Hello guys, I'm Paris the Options Guy and welcome to the Novios Trading Podcast. This is episode number 8 of the podcast and I hope you guys had a good previous week that went by, but still if you didn't had a good previous week, always remember that there is a week ahead that you can make better. But still, what did we see in this week? Starting off with Jerome Powell who had a speech and he didn't say some good things for the economy and for overall the market, but still the market didn't really react. So we are going to talk about that in the coming few minutes. Then we are also going to talk about how the unemployment data has come, because we were talking last week about how unemployment could rise sharply. So we are also going to look at how that has come, and then what can you expect from the next week where we have the CPI data for the US, which is going to be a pretty important event. And after that, we are also going to talk about how the markets can move in the coming week, because HDFC Bank has given a bit of a breakout failure and has moved down a lot on Friday. So we are going to talk about what you can expect from the market and in which direction can the market move, right? So all of this we are going to talk about in today's episode, so do watch it till the end, because there are a lot of interesting things in the episode which you can get a lot of takeaways from, and that can definitely help you in navigating the markets. So yeah, without any further delay, let's just start with the episode. So starting off with what happened in the previous week in the markets, where we didn't have a lot of stuff that happened in our markets, we didn't have a lot of news, but in the US markets, we did see a lot of things, not a lot of things, but definitely a few things that were pretty important happening. So starting off with Tuesday, where we had the Jerome Powell speech. Jerome Powell came and gave a speech, and a few highlights he gave which didn't really looked very good for the markets, but still markets didn't really react a lot to it, and it was a bit of a surprising thing for me also. So I'm going to tell you about them right now, the highlights of the speech, and you can also look at why you can also think about why didn't the markets react to that. So starting off with first highlight is that the trend of disinflation appears to be resuming. Jerome Powell said this. So he thinks that the disinflation is again starting to happen. That means inflation is starting to slow down, and again it is pretty I think he is right in saying that up to a certain point, not very substantially disinflation is happening, so inflation is not going down very substantially, but yes, you can say that slowly inflation is coming down, with the CPI data, with the PPI data, with the PCE data that we saw in the last few weeks. It looks like the inflation is coming down slowly, not very fast, but still it is coming down a bit every with every month's data. So again, I would not really comment on inflation, saying not really keep very strong views on inflation as of now, like where it could go or it could go down. I think it definitely, there is still a lot of uncertainty regarding inflation. So second thing is that the Fed needs to be more confident before reducing rates, and he said it in the previous few meetings, or you can say speeches also. So nothing new over there. But the third point, which is very important, is that the Fed doesn't see 2% inflation this year or next year. I mean, talk about inflation not coming down below 2% even until the end of 2025. This is just pretty, this is one of the most disappointing, this should have been one of the most disappointing points for the market, or takeaways for the market, but the market didn't react, and this was very surprising. And after that, what number is that the budget deficit is very large and unsustainable. So I've been talking about how US debt, I have not been talking about how US debt is increasing at exponential levels, and the US interest payments have also been going up very fast. And if you see the budget deficit, right, if you see the budget deficit, the US is keeping a deficit like it is in a war or in a crisis situation. We are at a very good, supposedly at a good place in economy. Supposedly, I'm not saying that we are at a good place or the US is at a good place, but supposedly it is at a good place in economy, in terms of where the economy is. But still, the budget deficit that the US is keeping indicates that it is in a war or in a crisis. I will give you guys the numbers next week. I will give you guys a few numbers to understand how exactly. Right now I do not have the numbers, but if you look at the budget deficit, it is huge. So definitely someone at a very high level has finally given a bit of attention to this. And I think just saying that it is very large and unsustainable doesn't really help. You have to take a few very important steps to important and painful steps to bring it under control. The fifth point that he said was that 4% unemployment still is a very low unemployment rate. And yeah, he is right that 4% unemployment is not a very, very big number. It is fine. But the thing is that where is the unemployment going after this? That is the more important thing to watch out for. After that, the sixth point, he said that moving too fast creates the risk of inflation returning again, which was pretty much the thing that we expected. He has said this a few times before also, so nothing new in that point. But yes, these are the things that Jerome Powell said in his speech. And it I thought that the market would give a very good negative reaction, but the markets didn't even give a reaction to this news, and it was a bit of a, you can say, like a bummer that the markets didn't really give it a very bad reaction, especially with the point that the Fed doesn't see inflation below 2% this year or the next year. So again, can't do anything. The markets are superior. You have to go with the markets. You can't really say that you are right and the markets are wrong. So yes, after that, on Wednesday we had the FOMC meeting minutes, and in FOMC meeting minutes there was not really anything new. I think Jerome Powell came a day before and said everything which was important and nothing else. So in Fed FOMC minutes, there was nothing new, but there was only one point which was pretty interesting, is that several Fed officials actually want more rate hikes if inflation persists. So if the inflation doesn't come down fast from this point, I think the Fed officials will also be ready to do one more rate hike. Now this year we are looking at two rate hikes or one rate hike. Now it is, sort of the probability of two or one rate hikes is sort of, you can say, switching, right? Sometimes people are expecting two rate hikes, sometimes people are expecting one rate hikes based on the data that is coming in every day. So can we look at a hike this year? Maybe or maybe not. I'm not really sure as of now. I don't think we will need, we should make any sort of very concrete opinion on the rate hikes or the rate cuts as of now. Given the data that is coming out, I think the next couple of months, the data that comes out in the next couple of months will be very important, because then September meeting and onwards, the Fed basically interest rate hike or the interest rate decision that they will make in September and onwards, those will be the most important decisions. So that's why the next couple of months, the data that comes out in the next couple of months will also be very, very important for the Fed to make any decision. After that, on Friday, we had the news that now this is not a very confirmed news, but this was a bit of a you can say a rumor, but yeah, some sources are saying that Reliance Jio could come out. Reliance Jio, right? Reliance Industries, the Jio, basically the telecom company Jio. So Reliance Jio could come out with a 55,000 crore IPO, and that will be the biggest IPO in the history of the Indian stock market soon, right? So because of this, if you see, go into the Friday's chart of Reliance and also Nifty. And now this news, or you can say rumor, came out in the end of the market, somewhere around 245, if I remember. So after that, if you see, Reliance has just rocketed and Nifty also has just rocketed. So definitely, if that happens, a lot of liquidity will be sucked out from the market, in my opinion, because 55,000 crores are a lot. And if you are going to suck out 55,000 crores, it is going to be a bit of a hard thing. I think if Reliance Jio is to come out with an IPO, this is the best time before the economy turns down. Because if the economy starts deteriorating from here, you will not be able to raise 55,000 crores very easily, because 55,000 crores is a huge amount. It's like what, 6.57 billion dollars or something. Yeah, so definitely a very, very $7 billion. So raising $7 billion is, I think, a bit of a big thing. So you need to do it in an environment where liquidity is still pretty good, right? So after that, we had the unemployment rate for the US come out at 4.1%. Expectations were at 4%. So unemployment rate has started to creep up, and as I had said that in the last week's episode, that unemployment rate soon could see a sharp rise. Now, as of now, it's just a 0.1%. So next few months, unemployment rate going to be very, very important thing to watch out for. So yeah, that was it for our markets. One more thing was that we had the HDFC Bank results come out, and HDFC Bank's results were not great at all. Pretty much flat results for HDFC Bank, even down in some cases. But yes, HDFC Bank, because of that, not performing at all, actually down 4.5% today, because of which bank nifty was also under a lot of pressure. So again, I'm going to tell you one thing in the market analysis part of this episode on what you should do with HDFC Bank and how can bank nifty perform, because yeah, a lot of people are negative about the stock, and a lot of people think that there will be a big crash in HDFC Bank or a big correction in HDFC Bank, because of which bank nifty will also not perform. But I would say that there are a few points that you should keep in mind, and after that only you should think about a big correction or anything. So yeah, stay tuned for that also, which is going to come out again, that part of the episode which is going to come out in a few minutes after that. But yes, now let's move on to what you can expect, what are the major events coming out next week, and what you can expect from them. Now talking about the major events next week, we have first of all the Jerome Powell testification against the Congress. So he will come and testify again, sorry, not against, but he will come and testify in front of the US government officials about how the markets are doing, how the economy is doing, what the Fed is doing, and all of that stuff. So I don't think there will be anything much important coming out of that until unless he says something which is pretty bad for the economy. But I don't think there is anything which is problematic or anything important coming out of that testification. But still, if there is something important, I will let you guys know in the next week's episode. After that, on Thursday, we have the CPI data for the US, right? Where on month over month basically rate, it is expected that the CPI will come out at 0.1%, and on a year on year basis, it is not, there are no expectations as of now, but it is, I think it is, people will expect that the CPI data comes out below 3.3%. So last month data, we had CPI come out at 3.3%. So I think this time people will definitely expect that CPI at least comes down a little bit, maybe 3.2, 3.1%. So after that, we also have the core CPI data, where the expectations are that on a month over month basis, the core CPI will rise by 0.2%, and on a year over year basis, core CPI will come below 3.4%. Now let's see how those numbers come out. But yes, if the CPI comes above 3.3% and core CPI comes above 3.4%, that is an alarm sign. You can say a warning sign for the market that CPI, basically inflation, might be again on the rise, and we might again start to see inflation accelerating, because of which we might see even rate hikes coming in the market. Because I think I just said a few minutes ago that Fed officials might also be ready, are also ready to give a rate hike if the inflation does not go down very fast. And then after that, on Friday, we also have the PPI numbers, Producer Price Index. Expectations are that it will rise by 0.1% month over month. So last time it came out actually negative 0.2%. So Producer Price Index was down after a long time, and so that's why if you see, Jerome Powell also said that disinflation is starting to continue, but this time it is expected that it will come at 0.1%. Let's see how that also comes out, because if that also comes out higher, again we have signs that the inflation is starting to pick up again. Now that was the major events for the next week. Not a lot of things happening next week. So a bit of a, you can say, calm week, except for Thursday where we have the CPI data. But yes, we do not have any IPOs also coming in our Indian markets next week. So let's move on to the market analysis for the next week. Now, talking about what can you expect from the market in the next week in terms of where it can move. If you see Nifty going up 1.3%, whereas Bank Nifty moving up only 0.6%. So you would ask what exactly happened in Bank Nifty that it did not move so much. So the major reason is, if you see HDFC Bank, which was down 4.5% today. If you see in the weekly charts, not looking good at all. Completely bad candle in HDFC Bank. And in the daily charts, if you see, down 4.5% today because of very bad results, right? So what can you do for HDFC Bank is going to be very simple. Now, one thing that you should keep in mind is that if, let's say, a stock has a very bad quarter, right? Let's say it has a single bad quarter, but the expectations are that the coming next quarters, the coming next few quarters will be very good. Then what happens is that the stock recovers very fast after the fall, right? So today HDFC Bank has had a 4.5% fall. Now what will happen in the coming next few days if the market expects that, okay, this was just a single bad quarter, nothing really bad with the company in the long term? What will happen is that you will start seeing buying coming into the stock again from this level itself. So what you guys can do is keep an eye out on HDFC Bank. If the stock is again seeing buying coming in it, and again the stock starts to recover and goes above 1720, chances are that this stock will again recover and start to make a new all-time high. Now if you see, the actual results are on 22nd July, right? Now today was a business update, you can say, and it wasn't really like they showed the net profit, revenue and all of that. They just showed the gross advances and all of those stuff, you can say, loans, deposits and all of that, right? So if if the market is expecting that, okay, this was just a transitory bad news which will pass on, and this is just a small dip that is happening in the stock, then you will see stock recovering very fast from here, and in a few days itself it will again cross 1720 and go above that. So keep that in mind whenever you are trading in results, or whenever you are trying to guess what exactly will happen in the coming future. Because if the stock, if the market is expecting ki, the next few months results or the next few quarters of results will also be bad, the stock will not recover very fast. But if the market is expecting that the results will not be very bad, then the market will again start to move up from here, and you will see a pretty fast recovery in the stock also soon, right? So that will also tell us a lot about where Bank Nifty will move, because Bank Nifty is also, very much goes in line with HDFC Bank. And if you see, Bank Nifty down 0.8% today because of HDFC Bank's weakness, right, on Friday. So what can we do for Bank Nifty is, if you see in the weekly charts, Bank Nifty doesn't look so good. If I go ahead and remove all of these drawings so that it is very clear for you, if you see, Bank Nifty doesn't really look that good over here. So sure, it is looking pretty bullish, but it looks like it might give you a dip on the downside, or maybe consolidate over here for a while and then start to move. Because in the daily charts also, if you see, Bank Nifty has opened with a gap up. So even if it goes up, it might take a little bit of resistance from higher levels and then again come down. So it looks like Bank Nifty might be in a range for a while. What range? 53,000, you can say, 300 till 52,000 on the downside. In this 1300 point range, Bank Nifty might move for a few days. Now again, that is if HDFC Bank also stays at this level for a while. If HDFC Bank starts to see very fast recovery, then Bank Nifty also will recover very fast from here and continue its momentum back up till 54,000 on the upside, right? So for Bank Nifty, things don't look that bullish as compared to Nifty, because for Nifty, things are pretty bullish. In the weekly charts also, if you see, very good weekly candle over here, and it looks like it will touch 25,000 also very soon, looking at the momentum that has happened. And why has this momentum happened in Nifty? I'll show you the 15-minute chart. If you see, a lot of momentum happened in the last 3 p.m. candle over here. So why did this happen is because of Mr. Reliance. Because if you see, Reliance also saw a lot of buying coming in the end, and this was because of the Jio IPO news that started coming in the market, as I said. Now we need to see, does Reliance give clarification on this? Because if Reliance gives a clarification that that this was just a rumor and we are not planning to give not planning to do the IPO of Jio as of now, that will be very bad for Reliance, and we could again see a very big fall also coming in. So let's see how things go over there. Now we don't know what will happen. Let's wait for any sort of update on that situation. But yes, because of that, Nifty completely seeing a lot of power in the end, whereas Bank Nifty not seeing a lot of recovery in the end. Sure, this was also a bit of a recovery, but this was a very small recovery as compared to Nifty's, right? So what can we do for Bank Nifty is very simple. Now the important level to watch out for will be 52,000 to 51,900. This area will act as a support for you guys, so I'm going to mark that area for you guys right now. Yes, this, oh, actually that is already marked, I'm sorry. Yeah, this area will act as a support for you guys. So if the market comes in this area, we will take a buying position. If the market goes near 53,200 to 53,300, we will take a selling we will try once to take a selling position from that area, because market will not completely move up in a single direction. If the market has to break 53,300 to 200, it will do two things. Either it will sustain near this area for a very long time, so maybe 2 or 3 days it just consolidates near 53,200 to 53,000, and then if it is breaking out, like over here, if we see it consolidated over here for a while, right? So we will again see some sort of consolidation at higher levels, and then it will break, or it will do a recovery so fast that by Monday itself it will close near 53,200 and continue its rally on the upside. So these are the two things that can happen, right? So we will try to take at least one selling position near 53,200 to 300, right, in this area, and at lower levels we will take a buying position. We will not sell blindly over here, please keep that in mind. If the market stance changes, we will think about that too, and for that please do follow me on YouTube. I post market analysis every day, so you guys will also get a lot of help to understand where the market is trying to move. But yes, on a weekly basis it looks like most probably Bank Nifty might be in this range for a while, and then it might try to break out on the upside, right, at least for 2 to 3 weeks, and then it might be ready to break out on the upside, or at least a week. Let's leave 2 to 3 weeks, at least a week, right? Talking about Nifty, if you see Nifty looking completely bullish, and it looks like it might start to do its momentum back up till 25,000. And if Nifty doesn't stop its momentum over here, Bank Nifty will also break out on the upside very fast from here. So our HDFC Bank might not be that good looking in terms of technical terms, but Kotak Bank, look at this, ready for breakout over here, might even go up till 2000 very fast in the coming few days. And same for ICICI Bank, it looks pretty bullish. ICICI Bank could also touch 1300 very fast over here, not very fast, but it looks poised to touch 1300 soon. So these banks might start supporting Bank Nifty more as compared to HDFC Bank, and because of that also Bank Nifty might start to pull very fast from here, right? And talking about Nifty now, if we see in 15-minute chart, I will go into the 15-minute chart over here, because in the daily charts looks pretty bullish. Now what you can do over here is very simple. Again, for Nifty also, lower levels will be for buying only. We will not take a selling position this fast in this type of market. If we get near lower levels, somewhere near 24,000, we will again think about taking a buying position from there, and at higher levels 24,500 will be the important level. This high over here will also be important. However, if this high is broken, then 25,000 also will come pretty fast. So what you guys can do over here is going to be very simple. Now if we open with a gap up, let's say somewhere near 24,450 or all these levels, then we'll wait for one pullback till 24,400, and from here we'll again think about taking a bullish position till 24,500. However, near 24,500, be very cautious, because that might be the level where we might again see a little bit of profit booking coming. And however, if we close about 24,500, then 25,000 also will come pretty fast. Basically, in a matter of few days, 25,000 will also come, and most probably without a very big pullback in the market. So if we open with a gap down, let's say somewhere near 24,200, then it will be a problem, and Nifty then also will start to consolidate. So at lower levels, we'll think about buying, and at higher levels, we can think about selling only if we see very strong selling coming in the market from higher levels, right? So that is the plan for this week for Bank Nifty. If we do not recover very fast from here, chances are we will go into a consolidation. And for Nifty, if we start to open with a gap up, that will be a buy on dip stance for Nifty, because Nifty is pretty strong, and Reliance will also definitely support Nifty very much from here, right? So that was the market analysis for this week. Now let's move on to the concept that we're going to learn today. Now, the concept that we're going to learn today is known as a climax top. Now, what a climax top is that sometimes some stocks which are already near their all-time high, or already near, already above their all-time high, already going at all-time high, they start to rise very violently and very fast, right? And because of this, a top can be made many times very soon. So what do I mean by that? I will show you guys in the chart of IRCTC. So if you see over here, this is the daily chart of IRCTC, and this is near October 2021, when the stock was already near its all-time high, right? Going at its all-time high. And if you see, the stock started rising very fast over here, right? And if you see, the top was made shortly after, and since then IRCTC has not been able to break this top, right? So this is known as a climax top. Now this climax top is made because of these very violent moves, and these sort of very fast moves, because if you see, the stock went from 970 all the way to 1200 in just a matter of 2 days, right? Or you can say 3 days. So this type of very extremely fast move can sometimes result into, not sometimes but most of the time, results into a top being made, which can indicate the end of an uptrend in a stock or also in the general market index. So how to first of all detect this type of a climax top? So there are a few things that you can look out for if you want to detect where the climax top can be made. First of all is the stock will have have the largest daily price run up in a long time. So what do I mean by that? If you see over here, this candle of 14th October, the stock went up 10%. Before that, the stock hadn't went up 10% since a long time, right? If you see, until unless if you could go back and see, the stock didn't move 10% for a very long time, right? And all of a sudden, the stock had its daily largest up move, you can say, of 11% over here. So these types of up moves, when they happen, you can keep in mind that the climax top can sort of be in the making. So whenever one of the largest daily price up moves happens near the top, right? If some sort of an up move happens at the bottom levels, that is something else. But at the top, if you are still seeing one of the largest green candles being made, so you can think that the climax top is about to be made in the stock, right? So then you can try to find places where you can book your profits. Now the second thing is that you will have the heaviest daily volumes in the stock. So if you see, when was the climax top made? If you see over here, right, stock had the heaviest daily volume at this day itself, right? So before this, if you see, now after the top was made, there was definitely a lot of volume. But if you want to understand before the top has been made, right, where should I book before the top? Now the top was made at this day, but if before this day, if you see, the heaviest volume, in the last, you can say, 2 years, the heaviest volume was on the candle itself, where the stock moved up the highest. So that again can indicate that the stock is getting ready to make a climax top. And the third thing that you can keep in mind is the stock will make a lot of gaps which will be unfilled. So if you see over here, the stock made this gap, the stock made this gap over here, the stock made this gap also, right? And then the stock made this gap also over here. So if the stock is continuously making gaps, unfilled gaps, which are not filled, then chances are that a climax top may also be very near. So then you can think about any sort of places to book your profits, or start finding any sort of places where you can book your profits. Now the fourth thing is look out for distribution. Now how to find distribution is very simple. What does distribution means is that someone who has bought from lower levels is now starting to sell their stock, right? Starting to sell their holdings, and not like 5,000 10,000 shares in terms of lakhs or even crores, right? So how to find distribution is very simple. Now whenever there are very heavy volumes on the downside and the stock is actually not moving up or going down, that means there is a lot of distribution happening at this point, right? If I could repeat that, whenever the stock is not moving up, right, or whenever there are heavy volumes in the stock but the stock is not moving up but rather actually starting to come down, that means some sort of distribution is happening in the stock. So whenever you say distribution happening at the top, that means a climax top may be ready to be made in the stock, and then you should think about booking your profits in that stock. Another thing that you can look at in the stock is some sort of a pattern like this, because if you see, the stock went up 7% over here, right? In stock made a very good green candle, but the next day itself the stock made an extremely huge candle over here, right? And that day was when the top started to be top got made, right? Before that, if you see, after any sort of price up move, the stock did not make very big red candles, right? But when the top was made, the stock made such a big red candle. So if you see any sort of very negative candle being made at the top, like over here, if you see, the stock opened with a gap up but closed down 7%. So these types of days, if you see any sort of alarming candle like this, you can think about booking your profits, because a climax stock could have been made on that day. So you should very much think about climax tops and places where you can book your profits, because what a lot of people make a mistake is that they will choose very good stocks, they will make a lot of return on those stocks also, but they will not have the idea of where to book their profits, and that is where they lose a lot of their gains. I have seen people who have had 120% gain in a single stock, and then they book it at 40% or 30%. Oh, yeah, right? So a lot of those gains that you have just gone, right? And don't try to think that the stock will continue to move when you are on the right side of the euphoria, right? When you're on the right side of the euphoria, when you're enjoying your gains, always think in the back of the mind that things could reverse as fast as they went up. So that's why when you're on the right side of the euphoria, or also on the right side of the panic, always lighten up your positions, always book your profits. Don't try to maximize till the end point, because if you try to find the end point, you will never find it, but your capital will start to end very fast. So I hope you guys understood what a climax top is. So yeah, with that, I think let's just end the podcast. So yeah guys, that was it for this week, and thank you very much for watching till the end. I really appreciate that you watched till the end. But yes, if you guys feel like there is anything that should be changed in the podcast, anything that should be added or removed from the podcast, do let me know in the comments, or just DM me on Instagram also. That is also fine, and I will make sure that those things are changed in the podcast soon, right, if they are in my control. But yes, I hope you guys took a lot of knowledge from this podcast. I hope you guys didn't waste your time by listening to this podcast. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next week's episode. Until then, stay safe. Bye bye.